You know that incredibly specific feeling when you finally hit the end of your workday, like the clock strikes 5 and you are just completely, entirely exhausted.
Oh, yeah. Totally drained.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You've been answering emails since the literal moment you woke up, and you've been bouncing from one endless meeting to the next.
Right. Putting out fires on Slack all day.
Yes. Answering a dozen quick questions from your team.
Yeah.
You feel like you've run a marathon, basically.
Hmm.
But then you look at your actual to-do list, the real priorities you had for the day, and you realize you haven't accomplished a single significant thing.
It is a universally frustrating experience. And it happens to almost everyone, you know.
Yeah, it really does.
You spend 8 hours in this perpetual, exhausting motion, but you make zero actual forward progress on the things that actually matter. You fall victim to the illusion of productivity.
The illusion of productivity. Man, that is a perfect term for it, and that is exactly what we are dismantling today. So the mission for this deep dive is to figure out how to stop those trivial everyday tasks from just sucking the cognitive energy right out of your day.
Right.
We want to help you create the perfect biological and psychological conditions to capture at least 2 awesome hours of peak unstoppable productivity.
Which, I mean, it requires a fundamental shift in how we view our work.
Right. And we're basing this on the core strategies from Josh Davis's 2 Awesome Hours.
Yeah, and the most refreshing part of this approach is acknowledging a really basic biological reality. The goal is not to force yourself to be this relentless, perfectly focused robot for 8 straight hours.
Right, because nobody can actually do that.
Exactly. Our neurology simply isn't built for that. Instead, the strategy is about setting yourself up for a brief, incredibly effective window of deep work.
I think we usually try to solve this with like time management tricks, right? We try to color code our calendars or block our days out down to the 5 minutes.
Well, the endless calendar blocking.
Yeah. But what the source material is arguing is that time management is actually a trap. We should be focused on energy and attention management. Because if your mental energy is drained, it doesn't matter if you have 4 free hours blocked on your calendar.
Right, you're just going to stare blankly at your monitor.
Yeah, exactly.
You'll basically just be scheduling your own brain fog.
Yeah.
To actually manage our energy, we first have to recognize where we are, mindlessly giving it away.
Waking up from autopilot, basically.
Yes, we have to wake up from living on autopilot. The source introduces a concept here called decision points, which is really the foundational step in transitioning from an automatic, passive state into a highly conscious one.
The text actually has this great example of this that hit a little too close to home for me.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. It's about this consultant named Doug.
Yeah.
So Doug has this crucial monthly analysis report he needs to write. It's like the biggest, most important task of his entire week.
Okay.
But instead of sitting down and actually doing the hard work of writing it, Doug opens his inbox.
Of course.
Right. And he just falls into this trance. He's responding to a dozen emails, sorting threads, just clicking away. And he isn't doing it because those emails are urgent. He's doing it because checking his inbox is his routine.
Well, routine is the brain's way of conserving energy.
Okay, right.
When faced with a cognitively demanding task like synthesizing a complex monthly report, the brain naturally looks for an escape route.
It wants the easy way out.
Exactly. The inbox provides a very safe, familiar environment where you can get those tiny dopamine hits from completing small, easy tasks. Doug is just choosing the path of least cognitive resistance.
It's like getting on the highway and putting your car on cruise control. The road is straight, you just zone out, and suddenly you realize you missed your exit 3 miles back because you're just blindly following the white lines.
That's a great way to look at it. The routine just took over.
But reading through this, I kept thinking, okay, let's unpack this. How do we actually catch ourselves before we miss that exit? Because, I mean, it's called an unconscious trance for a reason.
Right. What's fascinating here is that the trick is training yourself to recognize the specific anatomy of a decision point.
Okay.
A decision point isn't a grand, life-altering crossroads. According to the text, it is simply the specific moment in time when a given task is either completed or it is interrupted.
Oh, okay, so the millisecond I hit send on an email, that's a decision point.
Yes. That's a completion point. Or let's look at the interruption side. Say you are actually doing the deep work.
Right.
You are drafting that big report, and a colleague walks up to your desk and asks if you want to go grab lunch. That interruption is a decision point.
See, my autopilot response in that scenario is always just to say, yeah, sure, let's go. because it's noon, I'm hungry, and, taking a lunch break is just the routine.
But the moment you recognize that interruption as a decision point, you reclaim your agency.
You pause.
Exactly. You have the opportunity to pause and consciously choose your next move. You could decline the offer to keep your momentum going on the report. Or you could consciously assess your mental state, decide you actually need the break, and go get a bite to eat. The specific choice you make matters less than the fact that you are consciously considering your options.
Rather than just letting the routine dictate your behavior.
Precisely.
So for you listening, the takeaway here is to actively hunt for those little friction points in your day. The moment you hang up a phone call, the moment a meeting ends, the moment someone taps your shoulder. Don't just immediately roll into the next automatic action.
Right. Don't just default.
Use that friction to ask yourself what actually makes sense for your goals today.
And once you develop the habit of spotting those decision points, you really have to be incredibly strategic about how many decisions you actually allow yourself to make.
Because our mental fuel tank is surprisingly small, right? I really want to dig into that because the source points out that even tiny, seemingly insignificant decisions carry a massive cognitive cost.
They absolutely do.
The whole juggling act of our daily responsibilities is actively draining us.
Every single time you make a choice, whether it's deciding to check your email right now versus prepping for a meeting, or even choosing how to phrase a response on Slack, you are actively burning mental energy.
Wow.
You are taxing what psychologists call your executive functions.
I used to think of executive function as like a CEO sitting in my brain, just making these big strategic calls.
Sure, that's a common way to picture it.
But reading this, it feels much more like an air traffic controller dealing with a limited number of runways.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, you can only land so many planes before the whole system gets backed up and the controller's just totally exhausted.
That is a much more accurate way to look at it, actually. The executive functions handle managing, regulating, and controlling your thoughts and actions. It's a system that allows you to suppress an impulse or plan for the future. And operating that system requires an immense amount of biological energy.
Which really explains why some of the exhausting activities listed in the source are so surprising. I mean, it's not just doing complex calculus that drains the air traffic controller.
Right. No.
It's things like networking, switching back and forth between different tabs on your browser, or project planning. Just looking at your calendar and figuring out when to squeeze in a 15-minute sync with someone is literally draining your tank.
Because scheduling requires forecasting, spatial reasoning, and weighing competing priorities.
Right.
It is heavily taxing on your cognitive load.
That makes so much sense.
This is why the timing of your work is so critical. If your most important task is writing that major report, do not start your day by spending 2 hours clearing your inbox.
You're just wasting your fuel.
Exactly. You are forcing your brain to make 100 tiny decisions about trivial messages, exhausting your executive function before the real work even begins.
So you have to do the heavy lifting first. And if you are prepping for a crucial meeting, you should just turn off your email alerts entirely. Don't force your air traffic controller to constantly decide whether to look at the little pop-up notification in the corner or look at the presentation.
Remove the plane from the radar entirely. You have to eliminate the predictable distractions.
Okay, so this actually brings up something I really struggled with in the text.
Oh, what's that?
Here's where it gets really interesting. When I want to focus, my instinct is to lock myself in a quiet room, put on noise-canceling headphones, and just fight off every single distraction with sheer willpower.
Right, the bunker mentality.
Exactly. But the source material argues that our brains are actually fundamentally designed to be distracted. That sounds wrong to me.
Well, we tend to view distraction as a modern failure of discipline, right? A byproduct of the smartphone era.
Yeah, pretty much.
But it's actually an ancient, highly tuned survival mechanism.
The text uses the evolutionary example of the saber-toothed tiger, which really paints a picture.
A perfect analogy.
Right. If our prehistoric ancestors were out foraging and they were so intensely hyper-focused on picking berries from a bush that they couldn't be distracted, they wouldn't survive the day.
No, they'd be lunch. They needed a neurological system that could instantly override their current focus and shift their attention to, say, the subtle sound of a saber-toothed tiger creeping up behind them in the brush.
Right.
Our brains are biologically adapted to detect and instantly refocus on novel changes in our surroundings.
So getting distracted by a sudden noise in the hallway or movement out the window isn't a sign of a weak mind.
Not at all.
It's a sign that your neurology is working exactly as intended.
Precisely. And once we accept that fundamental biological reality, we can stop wasting our precious mental energy getting angry at ourselves for losing focus.
Because getting angry just burns more energy.
Exactly. Instead, we can manage those distractions strategically. As we mentioned, you eliminate the predictable distractions.
Yeah.
The notifications, the buzzes, the rings. But for unpredictable distractions, the text suggests something completely counterintuitive. We shouldn't fight them. We should actually embrace them by letting our minds wander.
Okay, I have to push back on this.
Yeah.
On behalf of anyone listening who operates in a high-pressure environment.
Fair enough.
If I have a massive deadline in 2 hours, the absolute last thing I feel like I should do is step away from my laptop and go wash the dishes.
I know.
How does completely abandoning my work actually help me solve the problem on my screen?
It feels paradoxical, but there is deep science behind it. The text cites a fascinating 2012 study from the University of California that looked into this exact dynamic.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They found that when we are dealing with tasks requiring creative problem solving or complex synthesis, our performance measurably improves if we allow our minds to wander.
But what is the actual mechanism there? Why does stepping away help?
When you are staring at a screen, trying to force a solution, you are heavily taxing your prefrontal cortex. You are squeezing that executive function we talked about.
No.
By stepping away and engaging in what the study calls active mind wandering, which involves doing a physical but cognitively undemanding task, like doing the dishes, tidying your desk, or taking a walk, you take the pressure off the prefrontal cortex.
So you're resting the air traffic controller.
Exactly. And this allows the brain's default mode network to take over. It allows your subconscious to process the information in the background, form new neural connections, and connect disparate ideas without the friction of your conscious anxiety getting in the way.
Wow. You're basically putting the problem into the brain's slow cooker while you go do something else.
That's a great way to visualize it. You are giving your executive functions a vital recovery period.
Are there other ways to do it besides walking around?
Yeah, there is also passive mind wandering, where you simply let your thoughts drift while sitting there. You become aware that you've drifted, and then you gently guide your focus back to the task.
Without getting mad at yourself.
Right. Both methods lubricate the brain's ability to solve problems effectively.
So we manage our mental energy by working with our natural biology, not fighting it.
Exactly.
But that transitions us perfectly to the next massive piece of the puzzle, optimizing the physical machine itself. Because, the brain obviously doesn't exist in a vacuum.
Right.
What happens inside our bodies directly dictates our mental output.
Absolutely. The mind and the body are not separate systems.
Right.
Since our executive functions fatigue so easily, relying purely on mental willpower is just a losing game. We have to physically prime our biology to perform.
And the source brings up this cognitive test, the color word study, to prove this point. I found this absolutely mind-blowing because I always assumed physical fatigue would naturally lead to mental fatigue.
Most people do.
But the data showed the exact opposite.
The color word test, it's often related to the Stroop effect, is brilliant in its simplicity. Participants are shown a series of words, but the twist is that the words are the names of colors written in a mismatched ink color.
So the word yellow is printed on the page, but the actual ink used to print it is green.
Exactly. And the participants are asked to name the color of the ink, not read the word.
Oh, that's tricky.
Very. So they have to look at the word yellow and out loud say green. This requires intense executive function because your brain is highly trained to read text automatically.
You don't want to read the word.
Right. You have to actively suppress that natural impulse and force your brain to identify the color instead. It creates massive cognitive friction.
So how did physical exercise actually impact their ability to handle that friction?
Well, the researchers tested participants before and after doing physical exercise, and the results clearly showed that people who did the cognitive task after exercising gave correct answers significantly faster and with more accuracy.
Wow. Because the exercise actually changes the physical environment of the brain. You're pumping more blood to the prefrontal cortex, and you're releasing proteins like BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which essentially acts like fertilizer for your neural pathways.
Exactly, making them faster and more adaptable. The text also references a target screen study simulating those unpredictable distractions we just discussed.
Okay, what was that one?
Participants had to focus on a target while ignoring flashing stimuli. Post-exercise, their ability to filter out the noise and maintain focus was markedly enhanced.
So physical exercise is literally the hardware charge that allows the heavy software of your brain to run without crashing,
It really is.
which implies that the absolute best time to tackle a brain-heavy project might be the minute you get back from a run.
Yes.
But let's be real. What about the listener who is nodding along right now but thinking, I have a board meeting in an hour. I absolutely do not have time to go for a jog.
That's a fair point.
Right. Can we manipulate our biology through diet instead? Can we just, eat our way to focus?
Diet absolutely dictates your cognitive capacity, but you have to understand the biological mechanisms of what you're consuming. The source draws a very sharp distinction between carbohydrates and fats when it comes to fueling executive function.
Because if I need to focus quickly, my instinct is to grab a bagel or a sweetened coffee.
And research shows that if you consume a heavy carbohydrate load, you will experience an immediate, sharp improvement in your ability to focus.
Awesome. Problem solved.
But there's a catch.
A massive catch, right?
A massive catch. Carbohydrates cause a rapid spike in your blood glucose levels. Your brain gets a flood of immediate energy. But that spike triggers an insulin response to bring your blood sugar back down.
And then the crash happens.
Right. The data shows that your executive functions don't just return to normal. They often crash heavily after only about 1 hour. You experience brain fog and severe cognitive fatigue.
So if your goal is to engineer 2 awesome hours of deep work, those carbs are going to completely abandon you at the 60-minute mark.
Which is why the source highlights fats as the superior fuel for sustained mental energy. Dietary fats metabolize much slower than carbohydrates. They don't cause the rapid glucose spike and subsequent insulin crash. A study noted in the text showed that consuming certain healthy fats provides a steady, prolonged release of energy.
For how long?
It improves executive functions for up to 3 hours after eating.
3 hours of sustained, even focus versus a 1-hour spike and crash. That's a profound difference.
And layered underneath all of this is the most fundamental biological need of all, hydration.
Oh, yeah. Water.
The brain is roughly 75% water. The text points out that even mild dehydration directly impairs cognitive performance.
Just mild dehydration.
Yes, it increases perceived fatigue and significantly hurts your ability to maintain focus. Drinking water isn't just a generic health tip. It is a rapid cognitive performance enhancer.
Wow. Okay, so we've fueled the internal machine. We've hydrated. We've utilized healthy fats. Maybe we went for a quick walk to get the blood flowing.
Right.
We've cleared the mental runway by managing our decision points. But all that perfectly optimized internal biology is totally useless if the external environment we are sitting in constantly hijacks our attention.
Exactly. We have to protect those 2 awesome hours from the physical space around us. Engineering the perfect workspace involves managing environmental variables that most people completely ignore.
Like what?
Things like ambient noise, lighting, and visual clutter.
Let's start with noise, because this is a huge debate in most offices.
Oh, definitely.
Some people swear they need library-level silence, right? While others thrive with a Spotify playlist or the background hum of a coffee shop. But the source identifies one very specific type of auditory distraction as the ultimate productivity killer: intermittent speech.
Yes, intermittent speech is essentially office chatter or a one-sided phone conversation. It's words followed by a pause, followed by more words.
Why does the brain hate that so much more than a loud fan or a constant hum?
Because the human brain is fundamentally a prediction machine, and its language processing centers are highly sensitive.
Okay.
Continuous noise, even if it's loud, eventually becomes static. Your brain registers it, predicts it will continue, and just tunes it out.
Like white noise.
Exactly. But when someone is speaking, then pauses, then speaks again, your brain's language centers are constantly being triggered. It is involuntarily trying to parse the meaning of the words and predict what the person will say next.
So it's literally eavesdropping and trying to fill in the blanks, even if you're desperately trying to ignore it.
Yes, you can't help it.
Think about that one coworker who always takes a dramatic pause in the middle of a sentence. It physically pulls your attention away from your screen.
It really does. Several studies demonstrate that this start and stop speech severely degrades your ability to stay focused, read comprehensively, and process complex text.
So what's the fix?
The actionable step is non-negotiable. When you enter your 2 awesome hours, you must escape intermittent speech. Close your office door. If you work in an open-plan environment, book a private conference room, or invest in high-quality noise-canceling headphones playing continuous lyric-free audio.
Okay, what about the physical elements of the room itself? Because the lighting section was fascinating to me.
Writing is huge.
Right. The source details a study from the United Kingdom that compared nearly identical workspaces. The only variable changed was the lighting. One space used standard white light, and the other used a bluish white light.
Right. To understand this, we have to look at circadian rhythms. Generally speaking, bright light signals to your brain that it is daytime, which suppresses melatonin production and helps combat mental fatigue.
Okay, so both standard white and blue light are effective for basic wakefulness
They are. But the bluish-white light had a distinct advantage.
because it's like the sky.
Essentially, yes.
Yeah.
The UK study found that individuals working under bluish-white light, which more closely mimics natural daylight, reported measurably improved concentration, lower fatigue, and better overall work performance compared to those under standard white lighting.
So if you're setting up a home office, you should swap out those warm yellow bulbs for daylight bulbs. Or, better yet, position your desk near a window that lets in actual natural light.
Definitely. But even if you are in a corporate cubicle with zero control over the overhead fluorescent lighting, there is one major environmental factor you have absolute control over, and it impacts your cognitive load dramatically.
Let me guess. Visual clutter.
You got it.
This is a tough one for me, I have to admit. The piles of sticky notes, the stacked mail, the unfiled reports,
Yeah.
the empty coffee cups sitting on the corner of the desk.
We usually frame clutter as an aesthetic issue or like an organizational flaw, but from a neurological standpoint, clutter is an aggressive drain on your executive function.
Really, just having it there drains you.
Yes, the visual cortex has to process every single object in your field of vision. Every unfiled paper, every random pen requires a tiny allocation of your brain's processing power.
Oh, wow. It's like having 50 tabs open on your web browser.
Yeah.
Even if you're only looking at one, the others are secretly draining your computer's RAM in the background.
Exactly. Your brain has to continuously, actively suppress the urge to look at or deal with the clutter in order to focus on your monitor.
That sounds exhausting.
It is. All of those objects are literally draining the very executive function we spent this entire time trying to build up and protect. A clear desk equating to a clear mind is not a corporate cliche. It is a biological fact.
And finally, the text emphasizes the importance of your physical relationship to that space. Just being able to move around is critical.
Yes.
You need an environment where you can stand up, pace around the room, or step away entirely to reset your physical posture.
Which ties perfectly back to our earlier discussion on active mind wandering. Taking a short walk away from the desk changes your visual environment, alters your blood flow, and resets your cognitive mindset.
Which allows you to return to the task with dramatically sharpened focus.
Exactly.
Okay, let's bring all of this together. For you listening right now, the overarching takeaway is that achieving peak productivity is not an endurance sport.
It really isn't.
Grinding your teeth and forcing yourself to stare at a screen for 8 uninterrupted hours is a recipe for that exhausted, unaccomplished feeling we talked about at the very beginning.
It is fighting a losing battle against your own biology.
Instead, real productivity is about strategic alignment. It's about recognizing your decision points so you consciously choose your tasks rather than falling into the email trance.
Right.
It's about protecting your air traffic controller by doing the heavy lifting first. It's about allowing your subconscious to solve problems through strategic mind wandering. It's about fueling your brain with slow-burning fats and hydration.
And of course, it's about engineering a workspace that protects your focus from shatter, poor lighting, and visual clutter.
When you systematically stack all of those biological and psychological conditions in your favor, you don't need 8 hours to do your best work.
No, you truly only need 2.
2 awesome hours, which actually leaves me with one final, slightly provocative thought to chew on.
Ooh, let's hear it.
If everything we've just discussed is true, if human biology and our executive functions are fundamentally capped at about 2 hours of peak, creative problem-solving a day, then what does that mean for the future of work?
Especially with the sudden rise of artificial intelligence, right?
Exactly. It's a fascinating implication. Think about it. If AI can now handle the 6 hours of predictable busy work, the scheduling, the routine emails, the data sorting, then our entire value proposition as humans shrinks down to those 2 awesome hours of deep creative synthesis.
The busy work is being automated. Your executive function is your only competitive advantage.
So protecting that specific window of time isn't just a life hack anymore. It might literally be the only way we stay relevant.
That is a very powerful point.
So stop treating your brain like a machine, because we actually have machines for that now. Go clear your desk, get a glass of water, and go find your 2 awesome hours today.
Well said.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time.